Alright everyone, we start off today with the presidential debate fallout. I've got a link in the description. This is to Real Clear Politics. Now keep in mind, if you're not watching this video on the same day that I'm making it, you're not going to see the same titles there. You can run it through an archive and just like backdate it or something like that, but generally I don't archive RCP. It's just an aggregator, so I actually want them to get the site traffic because they do a pretty good job. The debate fallout for Joe Biden could not get worse. Yesterday I made a video in which I explained, in brief, the debate, and then live streamed about it as well. And it was inexplicably bad, like absolutely fucking terrible for Joe Biden. Donald Trump looked presidential. He was clearly the president on stage. Joe Biden was the fumbling, mumbling old man that didn't know what the fuck he was doing, probably didn't know where he was, clearly didn't know what year it was at times, and just he failed over and over and over again on every single question. Every single question Joe Biden failed on. Here are some of the headlines, therefore, today talking about Joe Biden. Some of the outlets may surprise you. Biden is a good man and president. He must bow out. That's from the New York Times. Why Dems in the media lied about Joe Biden's frailty, according to Spiked. Hope isn't lost for Team Biden after first debate. That's MSNBC. That's fairly expected, although I would say I disagree with you. I think that Donald Trump has effectively just won re-election. It's not going to be close. If anything, I can't wait for the next round of swing state polling, including from Minnesota and Virginia and Maine, which should not technically be in play at all. Democrat operatives know they're stuck with Biden. That's on X by Taylor Buttawish. I'm probably mispronouncing your name. My apologies for that. Georgia voters appalled by Biden's weak performance. That's from DC Examiner. I agree with that, although it's kind of meaningless at this point because Trump's been running ahead 5 points in Georgia anyway. How Trump shockingly thrived with new debate rules by Politico. This is one really interesting facet. They were trying to fuck Donald Trump with the mic muting and the format of the debate. Instead, you got a much more linear, much more focused Trump. I'd be surprised if they don't change the debate rules for September with the I think it's CBS or ABC, one of those networks. I'd be surprised if they don't go back to the old format, simply because then Donald Trump can do run-on sentences and then hang himself, basically. A fumbling performance and a panicking party. That's from the New York Times. No cheap fakes here. Biden's debate gamble backfires. That's Mark Penn from Fox News. I mean, Fox is no fan of Joe Biden. Time to go, Joe, says The Atlantic. Now the entire world knows what liars Dems and media are. Sasha Stone on Substack. Can Dems replace Biden? It's complicated. That's from RCP itself, actually, by the way. Biden is the Democratic Party nominee. This isn't the 1960s, by David Axelrod at CNN. I agree with you, although I have a feeling your convention is going to look a lot like 1968. Biden struggled and Trump lied over and over again, from the USA Today. Yeah, so Biden lost and you're coping, basically. I mean, I could go through all of these if you want me to, but there's no reason to do so. I see a couple of Cope articles in which they kind of sort of try to circle wagons for Joe Biden. And mainly it's just about like, well, yes, Biden had a terrible performance. He also lied repeatedly. He had no clue where he was, didn't appear to understand he was on stage at times. Simply the look on his face and the raspy voice, which I kind of share at the moment because I've still got a little bit of a sinus issue on the left side of my face, actually. The trees will not relent. They're having an orgy, I guess. Joe Biden gave us probably the worst debate performance since forever, basically. And nobody alive today has seen a worse debate performance from a presidential candidate than the current so-called incumbent, the asterisk steward. It simply doesn't exist. I've watched debates, by the way, from before I was born. So I've watched debates all the way dating back to the 1960s. I've watched Reagan debating Mondale. I've watched Nixon's debates, etc., etc., etc. I can't find an example of a debate that was so lopsided. I don't even think polling reflects a debate so lopsided. Fuck, Walter Mondale v. Ronald Reagan. He would have gotten more than, 33% in the final poll, especially if it was on an adversarial network that didn't like him. The news speaks for itself. This is the legacy media. They don't like Donald Trump in any way, shape, or form. They're afraid of him more than anything else. Virtually none of the networks are even bothering to defend Biden's debate performance against Orange Man. Orange Man bad, but there's nothing to actually defend. It's inexplicable. Again, his debate prep team must be even more incompetent than him. What the hell were they doing telling him, hey, you shouldn't sleep beforehand. You certainly shouldn't get jacked up on caffeine at the very least, and probably benzos or Dexy or something like that. Don't use any drugs before the debate. Donald Trump might whip out a piss cup when you show up. Don't bother focusing on the issues. Don't bother even defending your record sometimes. Sometimes it's perfectly fine to self-deprecate. Now, not in a presidential debate. It doesn't make any sense. I've never seen such a thing before in my political lifetime. This is literally my job, analyzing politics. So I've been analyzing politics since the late 2000s in the official capacity, and I've reanalyzed politics from even before I was born. Couldn't find an example of something this lopsided. It was insane. Again, just look at the news headlines. I mean, even CNN isn't trying to defend him. Kind of. I mean, they're like, Joe Biden had a tough night. It was a rough time for Joe. But Trump, lied several times. Well, yeah, I mean, he's a politician. Of course he told falsehoods. Now fact check Joe Biden. Even CNN did that in their post-debate analysis on TV. Even CNN fact-checked Joe Biden because he had a couple of dead ringers in there. It's just that they don't put it on their website, for the younger audience. The under 70 crowd that doesn't watch TV. Again, it leaves me confused more than anything else. And I'm not alone. Donald Trump was confused when he was on stage. You could tell, physically speaking, he was confused at what the hell was happening. Biden suffered effectively a mental breakdown live on stage, and it was a 0 out of 10 performance. The legacy media's reporting reflects this. All of these outlets fundamentally want Biden to be reelected. They do not want Donald Trump, but none of them can even find any holding ground on which to actually defend him, because there's literally nothing to defend. Normally speaking, I remember when Bernie Sanders and Rich Tarrant, he was an extremely wealthy individual in Vermont, sort of like a rhino, and he was debating Bernie Sanders. Actually, for senior law, I joined a contest where you were supposed to do like a write-up about the debate, right? And then there was, what's her name? Rainfield v. Welch, actually, at the time. I can't remember her exact name. And I did a write-up. I won second place. I was glad I didn't win first, because first place was an iPhone, and I don't really do that sort of thing. Second place was a $200 Staples gift card. Back then, $200 actually meant something. So I went to that debate. And it was very lopsided. Bernie Sanders, for all of his faults, is a fairly good debater. And Tarrant clearly lost. And I pointed this out in the article. I'm like, Sanders is not going to lose any support as a result of this. It may not help him particularly because everything's so partisan, but it's not going to hurt him in any way. Tarrant, just his body language was poor. I've never seen such poor optics, though, as I saw from Joe Biden the other night. It was insane. Optically speaking, like body language, the way he spoke, what he said, the issues that he uttered about, and his attempted attacks on Trump, none of which landed. Not a single goddamn one. Trump was whirlwinding him. It's the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm pretty much prepared to predict that Donald Trump will win re-election. We'll be doing another story about that in a moment. That's about all. Peace out.